Hey everybody, it's Kara Brindle. Welcome back to the channel. I have a familiar face, although she hasn't been with us for a little while. Carla, it's so good to see you back on the channel. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for folks who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself and what you're up to?
Sure. My name's Carla D'Agostino-Vigil. I have a group practice in the Denver area, and we specialize in treating OCD, trauma, and addictions, but also all of the human condition, really. And I have a consulting business called very creatively Ignite Center for Mental Health Leadership. And I love supporting group practice owners and folks launching into our profession. I have a first career in human resources and labor relations at various corporations. So I love blending that and I love supporting our colleagues in that way.
Yes, you are one of my go-to resources when people have questions about expansion to group practice or HR components and benefits, because there are not many people who have your skill set when it comes to mental health leaders who are doing this work. So grateful that you're a resource to our community. I specifically brought you on because there's a topic that you and I both feel passionately about when it comes to some money stuff, right? So, financial therapist for me, for you as a consultant, which is a PTO account for small business owners, in this case, therapists, which is our audience. So, if someone's like, what do you mean by PTO account as a therapist? How would you describe this to someone who's like, I've never heard of this. What are you talking about? I work for myself.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a radical act, I feel like, for us, and it shouldn't be, but it is
Right.
in our profession to talk about as being a solo practitioner, you're in business for yourself. You are your own boss. And I know you're saying, okay, yes, I know this part. The part that we don't talk enough about, though, is how we take care of ourselves in a holistic way. And holistic also means financial. And for those of us that have grown up either in agency work, in a different group practice, a different setting, those particular things may have been off of our radars because they were kind of just taken care of for us. And PTO is one of those things. And so, one of the things that I find can be a really great starting point is creating a second bank account that is just put aside for those types of things. And paid time off should look like all manner of things that are important to you. So I think assessing what is important for my time off. If I'm a parent, I might want to make sure that I have a lot of flexibility when the little one gets sick. I want to make sure I
Mm.
take that vacation to the place I've always dreamed of. And so I think working backwards, if you want to look at your year, almost at a review, and really feel on what amount of time you want to have off. You can reverse engineer that to give yourself a PTO bucket. And this is a real radical act too, but strive to put aside what you are charging for a clinical hour,
Mm.
putting that in your PTO bucket. This is also really helpful for us when we're in private practice and we roll with the ebbs and flows of the economy, of slow and busier seasons. And so to take out that scarcity or that panic place that we can get to is having a consistent habit around putting that aside. So when I'm helping folks for the first time set something like this up, they might say, that's not realistic when I'm going to have a slow time. I'm not going to put the same amount.
Mm.
So one way to rework that is to come up with a percentage. So there's a different way to do that. For example, I'm going to put 10% of what my income is this given week into my PTO bank. And I'm just going to keep doing that. So when it's slower, that's 10% of the slower, but it's all relative and it's all about the habit. And there's something psychologically healthy about I'm contributing to me. I'm
Mhm.
contributing to this, whether it's modest or more significant, it's there and it's for me.
Yes, absolutely. I love these. Like you've given quite a few nuggets here in just our little bit of time we've had so far. Of like, I love the reverse engineering of look at your whole year, try to be intentional, think ahead, and then start planning for that amount. Even just the clinical rate, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. For like, what's your clinical hour? Like, are you putting that aside? And maybe for folks who are kind of balking at that, we can say like you can move up to that as you kind of name slow months or when there's like not as much income coming in, but just the habit. I love that. The habit of I need to have money going into this account. So I've talked to my clients about maybe it's $25 a month you're putting into this account because you're not going to like pull from it very often, depending on how your year looks. But it allows us to move to a place of this is truly transactional of, oh, my kid is sick. I'm missing 4 client hours today because they're home with me. Or, oh, I need a mental health day. Like I'm not feeling very good. So now I can move money over for what I would have made today, that clinical hour, right? And so I think for a lot of folks, it just takes away the barrier of actually following through on something that needs to happen. Of like, now I'm not going into scarcity. I can truly take the break I need. And for those slumps like July and spring break week and some other times, summer, it gives us permission that we don't have to like take on more clients. We're just paying ourselves for the difference of what we didn't make, which is life changing for the therapists I serve. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with that. Yeah. And I love there are certain banks too that are really user friendly for what we're talking about. Meaning you can set up a recurring percentage of whatever. So it can be in that bucket and you can just have it, to your point, it's transactional. You're not having to make extra steps. It just becomes, something that's happening in the background.
So having like a good bank or having just a system in place, you don't have to overthink it. I'm hearing that's a really good strategy for folks wanting to take this and run with it if they watch this video and go, I need to do this.
Yes.
Like I mentioned, like some people, it's just start with a small amount, but like creating the account, obviously there's probably some questions of does it have to have a minimum amount in it to not incur fees or something, checking versus savings, for example. But I think for a lot of people, it's just the idea of a PTO account, which you started our video by saying most of us, this was wrapped into being employed by somebody else. This was not something we had to think about, but now we should be thinking about it.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that came to my mind with this is I think when you mentioned savings, check on the type of account. One thing that I love to utilize is a reverse tier savings account.
Ooh,
So these reverse tiers, and I think they're called different things with different banks, but it's a high yield savings. So
yeah.
for that pool of money that you'll pull not regularly, but you're going to pull in instances of taking time off that you need, when it sits and accumulates, it's accumulating at a really, really nice interest level versus in my checking account, it would just be there. It would be
Mhm.
there if I need to pull it. But if you have the ability to transfer it into something like a reverse tier savings, you're getting, I mean, nothing's free, but
Yeah,
it's some additional interest bearing savings account, which feels really good when you look at your PTO bank and see that it's grown above and beyond what you've even contributed.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think the piece to really call out, there's so much here, but I think the thing that's standing out as you say that is obviously accessibility. Like I need to be able to grab it as I need it. Child gets sick, I need a mental health day. Like those are unplanned more often than not. But then
Mm-hmm.
for the plan thing is where I've seen this really be a positive shift for my clients who are therapists is okay, I'm taking that planned vacation and I'm paying myself to go. Like most people think, well, I'm not taking vacations and I'm going into burnout because not only do I have to pay for said vacation, I also don't make any income for that week. So when we look at it from the lens of you're actually hopefully saving on your personal end to take the vacation and then you're pulling money from your PTO account to pay you for the week you were gone, they go, oh, this is how this is supposed to feel.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
there's no deficit where people don't take trips because they feel like they're adding to their debt and not making any income. This changes everything. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Gosh, I agree with that. I think it really is a mindset shift. And I get excited when we have these kind of conversations that allow our profession to think about things like finances in a different way. It can be really
Mm-hmm.
empowering and that shift, and we don't talk about it enough in graduate school, so we're all kind of coming out into the field figuring it out, is If you're endeavoring to go into private practice, when you don't work, you don't get paid. That is the mentality you just described. So it
Yes.
is a radical act to think about, okay, that indeed is the case. You're looking at it literally, but by establishing this process, you're going to shift your mindset. So then it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like you're pulling from an empty tank when you need to take much needed time to
Right.
refresh and restore and do whatever your life is needing you to do.
Exactly. So I feel like not only is this a strategy from a financial place, but it's also a strategy for burnout prevention in
Oh
our field,
gosh.
which is
Yes.
why I think it does feel so like meaty of like there's so much to this and it sounds so simple. And it is. It actually is very simple for our viewers who are watching this video, but it's life changing from the mindset and how you relate to your business, how you relate to money, how you relate to time off and work life boundaries. This like changes everything. So on this note, this is where Carla and I are kindred spirits because she just said we love talking about money. So, like, hooray, different shifts. Carla, what's one final thought you have for our viewers on this topic of a PTO account?
Well, I think I would say um, give it a try. Get started somewhere. Um, and maybe even find an accountability person, somebody who is in our profession that gets it. You can hold each other accountable and just start somewhere. Um, and give yourself permission to actually dream of what you want your rest and restoration time to look like in the year ahead. So it will give you that extra oomph to go ahead and just jump in and start.
Mm, love that. Yes, and my little tidbit for viewers, if you've gotten this far in our video, on top of Carla's suggestion just there, is once you create this account, whatever it looks like, if you have the ability, which most big banks let you do, name the account. Literally say PTO or time off or something that's going to visibly remind you while you're working so hard as a business owner to put money into this account. That it's
Mhm.
not part of the catch-all. This is your emergency fund. This is the cushion account. This is separate from that. This is specific to PTO. And so when you see money in there, that hopefully gives you a cue. I can do this. I can give myself permission to take the time I need. So that is my tidbit for all of you as a financial therapist. Please name the account.
I have a great
Carla,
name for ours, the
yeah, what's that?
Prosperity Fund.
Oh, I love it. Prosperity Fund. Very nice. Yes. So Carla gave you an idea. Hopefully we're getting your thoughts, kind of going here as we think about how do you get started and how do you try this on and see how this works for you. I think Carla and I can both agree this is game changing for a lot of us. So we hope you'll give it a try. Carla, where can people reach you if they have questions for you?
Yeah. I would love questions, and folks can reach me at Carla at thementalhealthexecutive.org. And that is the same name for the website.
Awesome. I love that name. Every time I grab it for someone, I'm like, oh, I just love the way it looks.
Thank you.
So thank you, Carla, for your wisdom and just for the enthusiasm around this very simple but life-changing tool in private practice as small business owners. Hopefully everyone is feeling inspired and invigorated to make it happen. Carla, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Viewers, stay tuned for more